But learning how to really trust and hone in on when your intuition is calling you or trying to get your attention is so powerful, and it's such an awesome thing to have because it can really guide you to the things that you really want out of life. What if I told you that you have extraordinary, one-of-a-kind gifts just waiting to be uncovered? I'm Claire Kellums, psychic medium, intuitive guide, and animal communicator, and I'm here to share my personal journey of spiritual growth and healing in the hope that my true lived experiences will ignite something inside you, empowering you to embrace your truest, most aligned self. In this podcast, we'll dive deep into all things spiritual development, manifestation, breaking generational cycles, aligning your life with limitless abundance, and so much more. I am beyond excited to go on this transformative journey with you and witness your growth as you expand into the person you were always destined to be. I wasn't put on this earth to play small, and neither were you. Are you ready? Let's get aligned. Hi everyone, welcome back to the podcast. I hope you're having an amazing day wherever you are, as usual. On today's episode, I actually wanted to talk about intuition, and learning how to trust your intuition. So I met with a friend of mine recently, and she had mentioned that she was thought she was trusting her intuition on something. She followed it, and it did not work out the way she wanted at all. I don't actually know what the outcome was. She didn't talk about it much, but it sparked something in me to discuss today, and that is learning how to better trust your intuition. So the first thing that I like to do is really distinguish the two. So you have your ego and you have your intuition. And your intuition is that gut feeling that you get and I'm sure we've all experienced it at some point. I know I have, but that gut feeling that you get that something's not right here. Like this doesn't feel right. This is off. Something's off. That's your intuition. That's your higher self screaming at you like, hey, this is not the vibe. Something's off here. So your ego, I like to say the ego is the 7-year-old child that is demanding to be seen, heard, and validated. It is doing all that it can to survive and to be safe and to make sure that you don't change too much, because the ego does not like change, and it does not like things that are different, and it will actually make things scary, and it'll actually cause a lot of fear when things are different to steer you away from it. So if we go all the way back to the primitive days, I think I've actually talked about this before, but the ego was designed to help keep us safe. So, when we were living in the caves way back when, we had to have that ego to tell us, hey, watch out for the saber-toothed tigers. Watch out for the things that could kill us. Watch out for whatever was happening at that time. And also, at that time, we had to have our ego to be able to fit in and to be validated by others. So if we didn't fit in with the people in our community, that was a huge threat to our survival. If you didn't have a group of people of humans that you could stay with, your survival is like at risk, like your life is at risk. So we had to learn how to fit in and to not do things too differently from others, because it was their survival tactic, thousands of years ago. And now in today's society, it looks like we're scared to make that post on Instagram because we're scared of what people are going to say about us. And it's that survival instinct kicking in that says, hey, don't do that. Don't be too different, because they're going to judge you or they're going to banish you or whatever it is. So that's that ego. And that is really, all of those emotions, all of those feelings, all of those really heightened things that we feel on a day-to-day basis, that's our ego like screaming at us. Now our intuition, I like to say that intuition is the higher self. So I'll use higher self and soul interchangeably, but the higher self to me is the soul. It's what's living inside of us and outside of us. I don't really actually feel like the soul is inside of us. I feel like we are inside the soul, if that makes any sense, but that's how I see it. So That's our intuition. And it honestly took me a little while to learn how to actually hone in and trust my intuition. I had a very strong intuition, but I didn't know how to trust it. And also I would just go against it and be like, no, that's not going to happen. And then sure enough, it did. I can remember being in school and we'd be doing something probably we shouldn't have been doing. And, you get that little gut feeling that, I don't know, I think your parents are going to be home soon. Maybe you should go back home or something. And you wouldn't listen to it. And then all of a sudden your parents are calling, asking where you are. And then there's a whole problem. So, I definitely have gone against my intuition, and I'm sure I'm going to in the future at some point and not pay attention to it. And it's going to cost me something, but learning how to really trust and hone in on when your intuition is calling you or trying to get your attention is so powerful. And it's such an awesome thing to have because it can really guide you to the things that you really want out of life. So, for example, when starting this podcast, I was absolutely terrified beyond belief to do this podcast. And I wanted to do it so badly. I knew I did, but I was so scared of it. I was so scared of being seen. I was scared of failing in front of people. I was scared of people making fun of me or whatever it may be. But I wanted to do it so badly. And I kind of had this thing one day. I woke up and I was like, why does it matter? Why does it matter what they're going to think? If this is something that lights me up so much, why does it matter? It's not affecting me at all what they think. They're going to think it regardless. So I decided to do it, and I love it. I love doing the podcast. I want to grow with it. I love it so much. So anyway, I got a little sidetracked there, but so again, ego is your 7-year-old child and the intuition is your higher self kind of calling to you. So how do you start learning to distinguish between the two? So the ego, it is really, really good at kind of tricking you to believe, to do things that feel safe. Let me put it that way. If it does not want you to change, it's going to say, hey, don't do that. That's not safe. That's not safe. And then you're like, oh my gosh, is this my intuition saying don't do this because it's not safe? Let's use this as an example. Say you're in a position, you've been at this job for 20 years. And say the job you've always dreamed of having has come up, it's available. You could go to that job, you could start that career, but that involves you moving, quitting your job and packing everything up and going to this other job and starting over. And say there's an opportunity in your current position to become the next, a higher up situation. So the next step up. So you have these two jobs. One is your dream job that you've always wanted to try to do, but you would have to start over. It's really scary. I don't know, but I've always wanted to do that thing. And then you have this job over here that's at the job you've had for 20 years. And it's it's a next step up. It comes with a pay increase as well. They both come with pay increases. Okay. Abundance here, people. And so, but this one doesn't really light you up, but it's safe because you've been at that job. So you sit with it and you keep going back to this is safe, this is safe, this is safe. And that feels like your intuition because you would think your intuition would keep you safe, and it will. But follow me here. So it feels safe. We're going to do it. So we think we're following our intuition because that's what feels safe. When in reality, that's our ego saying, I don't like change. I'm scared of change. I'm going to do whatever I can to convince her to stay at this job because it's safe. I've been here for 20 years. It's a pay increase regardless. And this feels safe. I'm going to do this. So we stay at the job. We take the higher up position. A year later, you get fired. And you're like, what the hell? I thought I was safe here. What happened? I thought I was trusting my gut here. I thought I was following my intuition here. And now I'm fired. I've been at this job for 20 years. Now what? And then you start blaming the intuition. I thought I was following you. What happened? And so when in reality, it was your ego saying, let's stay safe. Let's keep you safe. Let's keep you safe here. Like, I don't want to change because change is scary. So back to what I was saying, the ego will throw all kinds of emotions at you when you have an idea pop into your head. So let's say that you are really excited about this opportunity that you're going to take to speak in front of others. You're nervous about speaking in front of others, but it's something you really want to do, and it's something you're really excited about. And you feel really, it lights you up. You feel pretty good about it. And 5 minutes before you go on stage or you step in the room or whatever it is, you start having alarms going off in your head. That's like, no, don't do this, back up, freak out, no, don't do it. And there's just a super like heightened sense of emotion, and like there's just so many feelings happening all at once. That is your ego stepping in saying, hey, this isn't safe. We don't want to do this. This is change. I don't want to do this. Back out. That is your ego. Your ego comes with just a bucket load of emotion. When you're feeling just a ton of emotion all at once, that's your ego. That's not the time to make a decision. But if you are feeling really good about it all the way up until 5 minutes before you get on stage or step into that room, that's not your intuition. Your intuition was the one saying, hey, this lights you up. This makes you feel good. This makes you feel, go for it, run at that fear. And your ego is going to say, stop. No, this is way too much change. I don't like this. And so, I have a perfect example of this actually. I have a friend, and I was going to tell her I was a medium, but I've been so scared to tell people because I'm like, what if they judge me? What if they think I'm crazy? Well, hindsight 2020, they have judged me and they think I'm crazy. So here we are. So I wanted to tell this friend that I was a medium, and I felt really good about it. I remember I was driving to her, and I felt really good about telling her, and I was excited to tell her, and I knew she would take it well. And the whole way there, it was fine. It was great. And I was literally pulling up to the house. And all of a sudden I was like, my alarm started going off. Don't tell her. She's going to judge you. She's going to think she's going to make fun of you. Don't tell her. And I started panicking, and I was like, I'm not going to tell her. I can't do it. And I remembered this, that I learned that the ego, comes with emotions really strongly out of nowhere. And the intuition is that cool, calm, collected. And so I sat there for a minute and I said to myself, is this my ego? Is this my intuition? Because I was feeling great about it all the way up until 2 minutes ago. And so I knew it was my ego. And so I sat there for myself for a minute, and I said, I'll talk to my ego. I'll talk to that 7-year-old child, and I will thank them. I'll thank her for keeping me safe all these years, and, for keeping me safe, and making sure I look both ways when I cross this street, making sure there's no scary people hiding around the corner in a dark alley or whatever. But I always say, I'm the adult here, and I will keep you safe in this situation, and it is okay to feel these feelings, but I will keep you safe. I'm the adult here, and I'm going to do this, and we'll be fine. We'll be safe. And so I did. I talked to myself just like that, and I went in and I told my friend I was a medium, and she was like, no freaking way. I am so interested in this. I have been for years. And so, how cool is that? I could have missed out on the opportunity to tell a friend that I was a medium because I was scared of what she was going to say, all because my ego popped in out of nowhere, just, a couple minutes before I told her. So, it's hard to learn at first because you've been functioning in this ego state of mind for your entire life, or some of us have. I know I did. And so learning how to go from survival mode essentially to trusting yourself when you haven't been able to trust really yourself or anything else your entire life, it's a really hard transition to make. And I always recommend going slow with this and building reps and building your strength with this and building this muscle, because no one goes to the gym and just deadlifts 250 pounds and you've never lifted a weight before in your entire life. I mean, someone maybe has, but I highly doubt it. So it's these little reps that build up to bigger things. So with this, one thing I like to recommend when you feel these really heightened emotions all of a sudden out of nowhere, give yourself some time to really ask what's going on. What's the deeper thing going on here? And a lot of the times we need some time to answer this. So an example, I love giving examples if you haven't noticed that already, but I had an opportunity to go to a podcast retreat, and I'm really excited. I think I've already mentioned it. I'm going to this podcast retreat. But anyway, when I was asked to go, I felt about 9 different emotions in a matter of 0.3 seconds. I was excited. I was scared. I was happy. I was sad. I was nervous. I was all of the things. And it was just so much emotion all at once that I told this person, I was like, give me a day. Give me some time to think about this. I'll let you know. And I sat with it for about 24 hours, and I allowed myself to get to a very neutral place before I made a decision. So I remember sitting there and I asked myself, am I feeling like I'm in a pretty neutral position right now? I'm not feeling extremely high, extremely low. And I felt pretty neutral. And then I just asked myself, I said, what do I want to do? Do I want to go on this podcast retreat? And immediately I lit up with it, and I knew I wanted to go. And I am someone who I'm very scared to travel alone. I don't like leaving my house. If I'm being honest, I do not like leaving my house. And so I sat there and I was like, do I even do this? Am I scared to do this? But I felt really lit up by it. And I knew that was my inner self, or my intuition, my higher self calling me like to go do it. Like, you don't know the opportunities that could present from this, like go do it. And so I said yes. And I'm really excited. I leave the 1st of June, and I'm really excited to go. But that's a perfect example of allowing yourself to get to a very neutral place before you make a decision. Because I am someone who notoriously, throughout my entire life, whenever something was really heightened or whenever I was feeling a lot of emotions, I would react just like that. Immediately in that moment, I would blow up, I would freak out, I would cry, I would get super hysterical, whatever it was. I would just simply blow up because I couldn't figure out how to escape all of those emotions that I was feeling. It was just too much all at once, and I literally just simply would blow up. And it took me a really long time, and I'm still working on this to this day, because I'm literally trying to undo a lifetime of habits, of limiting beliefs, of all these things. So it takes time to do all these things, but little steps every day will build up this muscle. So with your intuition, start by, you can start by asking yourself, do I want takeout tonight, or do I want to cook? Do I want to go to the store now, or do I want to go tomorrow? Which day would work better for my schedule? Start asking yourself little things just like that. Do I take the long way home, or do I take the short way home? And just see what comes up, and then just kind of go with it. And when you have those like validating moments that you trusted your intuition and it paid off, record that, journal that, write it down, whatever you have to do a voice memo, make note of it somehow, because by keeping track of those validating moments, you will start to pick up those patterns that happen. You'll start to realize, okay, this is how I feel when I trusted my intuition, and this is how, like, this feeling has come up for me before when I trusted my intuition. And you'll start recognizing that feeling, and then you can start using that feeling. I think the body and intuition go hand in hand. I mean, naturally they do, but But feeling things in the body and trusting your intuition, they go hand in freaking hand. So like for me, when I trust my intuition, it's hard though, because you have to distinguish between the two, but when I feel my intuition, I feel it in my gut, but also when I feel anxiety, I feel it in my gut. So it's hard to distinguish the two. But the way I was able to distinguish the two was the emotion I was feeling at the time. If I had a really heightened emotion and I could feel it in my gut and I was like kind of getting nervous, that's usually my ego. And if I felt it in my gut and I was pretty calm and I felt pretty like at a pretty neutral position or place, that's usually my intuition. So that's how it's working for me. Now that's not going to be the same for everyone. That's just how it works for me. So that's how I learned to distinguish the two. But I really used my body to be able to do that. And so, the intuition, I also like to think of it this way. Your ego is loud. It is loud. And your intuition is going to be a really calm, subtle, cool, calm, collective, emotionally mature adult. That's how I like to think about the intuition. So it's going to give just quick, subtle cues. Whereas your ego is going to be like, no, don't do like this now. Like freaking out, like your ego is going to freak out. And that's how I really have distinguished the two for myself. And so learning how to distinguish for you is going to be what's key here. And so these are kind of just a few tips that I like to offer for people to kind of pick up on. And really, I really recommend using your body and using how you feel in your body to kind of navigate these things. And then the last thing I'm going to touch on is how to trust your intuition, how to really actually trust it. And this is going to play into that inner healing work that we all need to do. So let me ask you this. If you know that you are someone that has all of this past trauma built up inside, all of this generational healing that needs to happen inside, all of these things that are inside, they're so built up, there's so much going on. Remember what I said, the intuition is quiet, it's subtle, it's calm. If you have all of this built up, you're not going to be able to hear your intuition. You're not going. It's not going to be able to break through and blast through the ego and all of that trauma that's built up inside. And it's going to be harder to hear because there's so much noise already going on inside. So until you can find a way to heal that noise and to work with that noise in a way that you can calm that noise down enough to be able to hear your intuition, you won't be able to work with it and trust it as much. So really learning how to trust your intuition, before you can do that, you have to learn how to trust yourself. Now, I really had to work on healing those inner parts of me, that inner trauma, the inner whatever it was for me, to be able to really hear my intuition. I would have moments in the past where my intuition would make itself pretty known, but I use my intuition seriously, like daily. And so being able to hear that and trust that and use it out on a daily basis, it's so powerful. It's such a powerful tool to have, because you can really start navigating your life with so much more clarity. And you figure out, okay, this doesn't work for me, but this does. Oh my gosh, okay, the bald eagle just flew like right in front of my window. How cool was that? I just had to put that in there. Anyway, I don't remember what I was saying now. But anyway, so I want to share a technique that actually my friend, who is a therapist, shared with me, and I think it could be very helpful for some. So I think I have mentioned this before. I'm not sure if I have or not, but I will separate out the different parts of me that I either want to heal or focus on or whatever it may be. So for myself, I have my ego, I have my inner child. And I know you're like, well, you just told me the ego was the inner child. I know, just follow me here. I have my ego, my brain. I have the inner child in my belly. And then I have I know you're like, what are you talking about? I will explain, I promise. And then I have like my overall, like I have me. I'm Claire, like my higher self, like who I feel I am on a soul level. And so the brain for me is where those like scary thoughts come in, like the big scary thoughts that are like what's going to happen? Are things going to happen? Are bad things going to happen? And like, you know, those scary thoughts that come in like, oh my gosh, this could happen. That's my brain. And I like to talk to my brain again, like she's a 7-year-old child and say, hey, like, I know that's so scary, but like we're here in the present day. That was just a thought that you had, and we're going to let that thought come in and we're going to let that thought go straight back out. And so when things come up that could have affected me in a way that, or during childhood, that like pop up in present day, and I feel like my inner Claire, like that little girl is feeling scared, is feeling vulnerable, whatever it is, I will actually close my eyes and I will go to my stomach, because again, that's earlier, like I said, that's where I feel my anxiety. And I will just ask myself, okay, why are you feeling this anxiety? What's going on? Like, what happened? Do you remember what happened in the past that's causing these feelings now, this fear now? And so being able to distinguish the different parts of me has seriously helped me learn how to trust my intuition better, because I can start pinpointing who is who. And I had my friend teach me this technique that I forgot what she called it, but I'm going to call it the meeting place technique because that's how I remembered it. But she said that you can actually close your eyes, and once you have, you know, the different parts of you distinguished, and they don't have to be the same people every time. Sometimes it's 7-year-old me, sometimes it's 13, sometimes it's 17-year-old me, whatever. You can actually close your eyes and you can imagine this place, and that's your quote unquote meeting place. And you allow all these different parts of you to meet there, and you kind of just hang out and you say, okay, what's going on? What do you guys want to talk about today? Like, how are we feeling? What's going on? And being able to separate all of that out has been so incredibly helpful for me, because I'm able to start pinpointing what feelings are coming from where, and being able to name those feelings and naming those fears and naming those traumas and putting a name to it has also been so incredibly helpful, like so incredibly helpful. And once I was able to organize all of that stuff and file it away and not force it away, or not like push it away and pretend it's not happening. No, I sat with that stuff. I sat with it and I simply filed it away, because it's not going to leave me, but I don't give it attention anymore. I don't give it the power anymore. I took back my power from it, and now it's just something that has happened to me and that I keep in a filing cabinet, essentially, if that makes sense. So anyway, once I learned to distinguish all those things and separate all those feelings, that's when I started being able to really pick up on my intuition. And so it would come in as like a new person, but it's my higher self. So like that's how I'm able to distinguish between all of these different things. And so when like my intuition pops in and I'm like, okay, well, this isn't my ego. This isn't my, that inner child that lives in my belly. Like this isn't those things. This is my intuition. I know this. I know you now. I recognize you now. And so I'm going to trust you. I'm going to follow you. And giving your trust to that intuition is absolutely, absolutely key. And if you're unsure, or if you don't know if this is your ego, if this is your intuition, and for whatever reason you have to make a decision on the spot, I always like to say, for me, for personal experience, the first thing that popped into my head was usually my intuition. So you know how like you're taking a test? This is a good example. You know how you're taking a test and you straight up don't know the answer. You've got A, B, C, and D. And your answer was none of those options, even remotely close, whatever. And you're like, I'm going to go with C. And then you sit there for a minute and you're like, I don't know, D sounds better. Well, maybe B, but also A is a pretty good contender. I forgot the statistic of that, but like it's something crazy. Like the first answer you went with is like a majority of the time the correct answer. Like, cause you trust like it's cause it's that intuition. And so going with that first thing that popped in, and your intuition will pop in pretty quick sometimes. It's quick and it's subtle. And so going with that intuition, that first thing that popped in, for me, that has been a lot of the times the path or the decision that I needed to make in that scenario, whatever it may be. So, okay. And then a few affirmations that I wanted to add for today. I really like using these for a couple different reasons. So it helped me kind of tame that ego down just a little bit and really be able to trust my intuition. And I like to thank my ego. I like to thank my ego again for keeping me safe, for doing the best that she absolutely could all those years, and for doing what she thought she had to do. And I also thank her for reminding me to look both ways when I cross the street, because that's your ego. And remembering to, again, like not go down a dark alley and, whatever. That's your ego keeping you safe. And so I like to thank my ego. Thank you for doing that for me. But those other moments where I'm trusting my intuition and you're popping in with all this fear, I say thank you for trying to keep me safe, but I'm the adult here. So I'm actually going to make this decision because I know it is my intuition and I'm going to follow my intuition here. But thank you for keeping me safe, and thank you for always being there for me. One thing I do not like to do, and I had been doing this for a long time and I didn't realize I was doing it, and I was running into so many freaking roadblocks. I would almost like banish my ego. I would be like, you have to stop. You have to stay over there. You have to quit. Like, go over there. When I was doing readings, I would always try to like make my ego go away so I could focus. And I everything just kept clashing. And I realized the trick wasn't to banish my ego. The trick was to allow her to come in and blend with me, with my higher self. And Mavis Patilla said once in an interview to like the ego's like the lion and your intuition's like the lamb. And you have to get comfortable allowing the lion to lay with the lamb. And once they do, that's when the magic starts happening. So don't bash your ego. Don't bash that, that part of you, because it's only going to make it fight more, because again, it's that 7-year-old child that wants to be heard. And when it doesn't feel heard, it just gets louder and louder and louder because it just wants to be validated. So validating your ego, validating that part of you and allowing it to be a part of you, allowing it to blend with you and blend in a really beautiful way because you have to have it. You wouldn't be living without it. You have to have your ego. So allowing it to blend with you in a really beautiful way. And so I like to just say, thank you, ego, for keeping me safe and for doing all that you have done to get me to this point in life. And thank you for always reminding me to look both ways before crossing the road. But when my intuition comes up, I'm going to trust my intuition, and I need you to trust me because I'm the adult here. And I just always thank her. I always, always, always thank my ego, and I always make sure that she is validated and that she is seen and that she is heard. And then another one I like to do when things don't work out the way I thought they were going to. So, for example, if you really wanted a job, you really wanted this position, whatever it may be, and you thought you had the job, you thought you had it, and guess what? You didn't get it. Instead of saying, why does this happen to me? Why me? Why does this happen? Bad things always happen to me. I like to look at it like this. I like to say to myself, How grateful am I to know that this wasn't right for me so I can make room for the things that are right for me? I am so grateful for this opportunity to know that that position wasn't the right position for me. And I look forward to the positions that could be for me in the future, or, whatever it may be. I always like to thank and give gratitude to the things that don't work out, because truly, you don't know if there is a better opportunity, something that you would have never dreamed of, but such a better opportunity just waiting around the door. But if you sit there and you dwell on the fact that you didn't get that position, and you dwell and you dwell and you dwell, and then you're just mad, and then why is this happening to me? Why didn't they choose me? You're going to miss that opportunity that could present itself to you, that will present itself to you if you pay attention to it. The universe, this is a really awesome quote. I don't know where it comes from, but I've heard it several times. The universe is always conspiring in your favor. I have living proof of this. I genuinely have living proof of this. And it is so fascinating. And so that is why I want to continue doing what I do, because it's almost like a game, kind of. How far can, how far can I go with this? How much magic is there in the world? How much energy and money and time and grace and beauty and all the things, how much is out there that I don't know about yet until I take that opportunity to do the thing? So that's why I haven't stopped doing podcasts, because trust me, or like doing the mediumships and like anything in general, I wanted to stop so many freaking times because I was so scared. I was literally so scared. I didn't want to be different. I wanted to fit in. And I was like, I feel like I'm literally just setting myself up for, not for failure, but to be put on a spotlight and be like, she's crazy, look at her, laugh at her. I was so scared. But then I heard someone say on a podcast interview one time, when that fear comes up, when you have an idea that really lights you up, but that fear starts creeping in, that you're not good enough, that you're not worthy enough, that you're an imposter, whatever it is, that is a green light. That is your sign to run head on at that fear. Go for it, because you don't know what could pay off. And that's usually your sign that you're about to do the good work. And so when you get that fear creeping in, when you want to start a podcast and you really think you could help people and you really think you could serve a lot of people and grow it to no ends, but then that fear creeps in that someone's going to make fun of you, that someone's going to, or that you're not worthy of it, or that you're not a good speaker, or that you're not a good educator. That's run at that fear, run head on at that fear, because that's usually a sign that you are on the right path, that you're in the correct direction. So I'm always grateful for the opportunities that don't work out, because it's how I know that it wasn't meant for me. And I can say, okay, it might have sucked that it didn't work out, but there's a better opportunity for me out there. I know there is. And so I'm going to keep going until I find that opportunity. I'm going to keep going until I find where I feel that I desire my life to be. I have a beautiful life now. I really do. I love everything about my life, but I don't think that I have to give up the life that I desire, the life that I dream of, simply because my life is beautiful now. I really feel that I can do more, that I can share more, that I can expand more, that I can grow more. And I want to live this abundant life, both financially and just in abundance of life and beauty in general. And the best part about all of that is I already have it now, and I'm so grateful for it now. I could stop doing this podcast. I could stop where I'm at in my tracks today, and I would be perfectly happy. But I say that, I'm going to back up. I could stop today and I would be perfectly content. But there would be a part of me that would always wonder where I could have gone with this life and the direction that I could have gone in and how I could have lived it and how I could have, the money that I could have made, whatever it may be. I am someone who I want to keep chasing that dream because you never know where it's going to lead you. You simply never know. Like people that go viral on social media or whatever it may be, I don't know, that's just like the first thing that came to my mind. They probably never dreamed that they were going to be viral on social media or whatever, but they probably just kept posting videos or whatever, and then one day that it just blew up. And that's a good and a bad example, I understand, but anyway, I just don't like giving up because I like to help people. That's like the first and the foremost. I really just like to help people. I really like to share my experiences with others. I love to speak with others. I love to hear their experiences. I really, really love that aspect of life. It's just sharing and receiving experiences, truly. And so being able to do this podcast and let it reach the people that it is meant to reach, I think that is so cool. And I just think that there's so much more to life than just going to work and coming home and doing that on repeat. I really truly believe that. And so I'm on a mission to find that for myself. I'm on a mission to live the best and the most expansive and the most beautiful life that I can possibly live, because I know it's going to take me somewhere, and I know it's going to take me somewhere beautiful, and I know the path, the journey. I know everything about it. It's going to be great. There's going to be, I'm going to take out the word great and say beautiful, because there's going to be downs. There's going to be lows. There's going to be places where I'm probably going to cry and be like, I can't do this anymore. I know that's going to happen because that's life. But I use this example often. When I'm 80 years old, I don't want to be sitting there thinking I kept all of this talent in me and I didn't share it with the world. And I actually just listened to a podcast yesterday, and the interviewer on the podcast, she said when she's 80 years old, or whenever she returns home, whenever she passes and she returns home and leaves the world to go on, she said, I don't want to die with all my talents inside me. I want to go to wherever we go with 0 talents left in my body, because I wanted to have used them all while living on this earth. And I think that is so cool. And I think that's so powerful. And you've probably heard the quote before, don't die with the music inside you left unplayed. I think that's how the quote goes, but so powerful and for so many reasons. And I just don't want people to live their life and get to the point where they look back and they're like, I really wish I would have done this one thing. My dad is actually a really cool example of this. I'm going to throw in here real quick. My dad is someone who he simply just has this confidence about him, and it's not like a arrogant confidence. The man just simply has the confidence that he can do something. And when he was, when he was around 50, I think, he decided that he wanted to be a pilot. He was talking about it one day, and he said, I have always wanted to be a pilot. I've always wanted to fly an airplane. And he decided that he was going to be a pilot. And I remember everyone was like, okay, this is crazy. But he worked. I remember he would go to work because he owns his own business. He would go to work and he'd come home and he'd freaking study for hours. And guess what? A couple years later, my dad owned his own airplane and he was flying family and friends to Florida. And so how cool is that he had that experience, that he didn't take that experience to the grave with him, that he acted on it, and that he did that. He has that now to say, I did this. When he is returning home to wherever we go, he can say, I did not leave that music left inside me unplayed. I became a pilot. I am a pilot. I flew airplanes. Like, how cool is that to have? So, I think that's a beautiful example just of itself. But yeah, don't leave your talents inside you. Don't leave them unplayed inside you. Don't return home with your talents. Do it while you're here. And I know you're like, Claire, everything is so expensive. We don't have time. We don't have this. We don't have that. It doesn't have to be like quitting your job and moving across the country. It can be if you want it to be, but if you don't feel like you can do that, just do the little things that light you up. Do the little things that bring you happiness. If you love flowers, grow some flowers. If you like to be around animals, maybe look for a job at a zoo. I don't know. That was a poor example, but do what lights you up and do the things that you feel talented at, because you don't realize where it could take you in this lifetime. You just simply don't know the opportunities that are out there until you put yourself out there to receive the opportunities. So, okay. It's a beautiful day. I'm going to go outside now and spend time with my animals, actually, while my son is at his grandmother's. So, in closing, I hope you all have a beautiful day. I know I went in an entirely kind of different direction there towards the end, but that's kind of how my brain works. So that's kind of how this podcast is going to work. And so I hope you have a beautiful day, again, wherever you are. And I hope that you share your magic with the world in whatever way you can. All right, friends, I'll see you soon. Did you love this episode of the Ultra Aligned podcast? If so, I would be so incredibly grateful if you could leave a glowing review and 5 stars. Your support helps this podcast reach even more people who are ready to step into their light. Have questions or suggestions for topics you'd like me to dive into? I'd love to hear from you. Just shoot me an email at theultraalignedpodcast@gmail.com. Thanks for sharing. I love you all. I'll see you next time on the Ultra Aligned Podcast.